everything Hindu has been stereotyped. For God's sake, the West calls Jai Shri Ram a war cry, a call for hate. I was just tired of this rhetoric. The British colonized India, and that colonization was a positive experience for indigenous people. Far right Hindutva, she's Islamophobic, racist, transphobic, whatnot. My inboxes were filled with, filthy messages calling me things. And they decided they're going to stalk my mother. General academia in the West, there's so much anti-Hindu content. They told me that if you were from our community, this wouldn't have happened to you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's podcast. My guest today is the first Hindu to be elected as the president of the Oxford University Students' Union, as well as now a published author who has written an account of her experiences at Oxford called A Hindu in Oxford. We'll be talking about the book in detail as well. We'll be talking about, the contents of the book, what it's like to write a book, and her experiences in Oxford, obviously, which she writes about. But before we do any of that, please help me welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, actually, Rashmi Samant. Rashmi, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ram. It's always a pleasure to be on your podcast and speak to your wonderful audience.
No, thank you. I appreciate you being on as well. I've been meaning to speak to you about this, but before we go anywhere, first and foremost, congratulations are in order for for writing a book, for becoming a published author. Many people don't ever get to write a book, but you're here in your mid 20s and you're already a published author, so that's a very big deal. So congratulations for that.
Thank you so much, Ram. Means a lot.
No, that's awesome. So I'm sure a lot of people are already aware of you and what you do, and your sort of online presence has grown quite a bit as well. But for people that might be watching the show that might not be aware of you, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a little bit about your background.
So, Sham, for the sort of people who don't know what it's all about, I'm Rashmi Samant. I come from a little town on the coastal part of Karnataka called Udupi. Born and raised there. Small town, big dreams.
Right.
Made it into Oxford. Became the first Indian Hindu female president, and then had to face a lot of issues because of the stereotyping, because of the inherent biases which come first, unfortunately, in our society, and had to face the brunt of it all.
Right.
Thanks to, I think, this wonderful community, and I think a year and a half later, we are here writing a book about it, and actually in a position where I can say that I survived something that was quite terrible to begin with, but all the more stronger now.
No, that's wonderful. So talk to me a little bit about your experience at Oxford. You were elected as the president of the Students' Union. Talk us through that entire process, what the election was like, and what happened right after the election, because that's where the story really kicks into gear.
Well, Sham, I was this typical blue-eyed girl, full of hopes and aspirations. Makes it to Oxford, thinks, okay, wow, made it to the first, university that's ranked number one in the world. All that exhilaration of making it comes together. Then I think, okay, I need to, aspire for more. I stand up to be the president of the Oxford University Students' Union. It all came from this tiny place and hope that maybe 10 years down the line the SU will have an Indian
Right.
president. I didn't expect to be the Indian president because there was no history of there being an Indian president before me. So it was all very much like an impossible dream. But I thought, okay, by contesting, I can leave a precedence that will enable more people to contest, and
Yeah.
maybe at some point in the future actually win the election. So that was just this sort of hope that I had, and with that I just ran for president, and it literally ended up becoming, shoot for the moon, if you miss, you land among the stars. So it was one of those situations come true when I won the election. I ran on a platform of decolonization because I was just tired of this rhetoric that the British colonized India, and that colonization was a positive experience for indigenous people. This was a
Right.
very dominant rhetoric that was very prevalent on campus. And I think as an Indian and as someone who's, faced, whose ancestors have faced the worst of what colonization did to this country. It wasn't acceptable to me that a university that's ranked one in the world, that sets the stage for academia across the world and sort of influences everything from popular media to politics to major philosophies and theories about our society, to have that kind of a mentality. So that was just my honest sort of a one page election manifesto. Before I knew it, it went super viral. Oxford now being a very global university, we have people from over 150 countries. So it was only then that a lot of people who are from Africa, from South America, they started really connecting with what I was saying. They felt like the sort of silent majority was finally getting a voice. They rallied behind me, they got me elected, and I think it was a beautiful experience. The election was landslide. The voter turnout was historic. So many
Wow.
people had never turned up to cast votes before. The margin was also phenomenal. We had 54% of the direct votes, despite there being like six, seven other alternatives.
Right.
So it was a huge thing, and there was celebration everywhere. Indians were celebrating. I think I still remember the next morning I wake up to people sending me snapshots of their Times of India, the Hindu, just being like Oxford University gets its first Indian president elect, the student union does. So it was that kind of a euphoric moment.
Right.
It was a good experience until then, and then that's when things started going downhill. I started getting hate messages. My inboxes were filled with filthy messages calling me things, and then soon it got carried on to campus gossip pages, all of these confession pages where people don't
Oh,
have to
right.
really come up with their identities. So all the bullies were there, and sooner or later it started getting carried on by campus newspapers. And then Oxford is this explosive place where even the smallest of campus news makes it to international headlines. And
Right.
before I knew it, it was all over the place, saying stuff like, okay, she comes from Udupi, hotbed of far right Hindutva, she's Islamophobic, racist, transphobic, whatnot. And it was, I think, for me, a very unexpected point in life, because okay, my entire platform of decolonization, it's being carried on by people with so much fervor. And what changed, right? You win and then you wonder what changed.
Mm.
And then I think I had this big lesson that okay, decolonization and talking about all of these things, maybe it's a buzz thing, it's trendy. Also, you might find a silent majority that's willing to put you in office for it, but then if you start acting on it, instead of just being that typical brown person bringing representation to the table, if you
Right.
start, okay, now give me the rights that come with sitting at the table as well, and start dictating the terms, then there's problem. Then there are issues, and then suddenly you're not their favorite brown person or your
Mm.
favorite president anymore. So I think I had this entire learning experience, this whole learning curve, following the hate and the sort of discrimination, the sort of bullying, the sort of ostracization that I faced on campus.
Why do you feel like you got attacked the way you did? Why do you feel like the attacks against you were as strong or maybe, as aggressive as they were? Because if I'm not wrong in remembering this, there were members of the faculty that were also involved in hurling attacks at you.
Well, I think part of the problem was also that they saw me as somebody that didn't conform to the predominant leftist Marxist ideology that governed the University of Oxford. I think that was primarily the reason. And I think that
Mm.
how they found out is very funny. They tried to troll through my social media,
Right.
and there wasn't much except for traveling photos from around the world. And then they decided they're going to stalk my mother and see what kind of a family she comes from.
Right.
And then somewhere down, deep down in my mother's Facebook posts, they found one picture which said ek hi naam ek hi nara jai shri ram, and then that became this whole catalyst for
I mean,
an
to be honest, it's
epic
the
left.
literal definition of scraping the bottom of the barrel, right? If
Yeah.
what they did needs to be in the dictionary as explaining what scraping the bottom of the barrel means.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it would be textbook definition of scraping the bottom of the barrel,
Yeah.
and what followed was this epic leftist meltdown, epic meltdown, and I think it was a huge learning curve. I mean, you don't expect a 21-year-old. I was 21 at that point,
Yeah.
21, 22, to know about all these nuances of society. You're still at a point where you think the world is either fair or unfair. It's, justice or injustice, black or white. You don't really know about the gray.
Mm.
And it's unfortunately the gray where a lot of these, things they lurk, where a lot of these, bullies they hide. It's a lot of weaponization of, words like racism,
Yeah.
transphobia, anti-Semitism, feminism, Islamophobia, that's causing more harm in our society today. I
Mm.
was this naive kid who thought, okay, these words do mean something. If someone's accusing me of something, then, okay, what did I do wrong? I was in this whole a journey of self analyzation for the first few weeks following the election when I was being attacked. And then I just realized, okay, these people are straight up weaponizing something to get their way, to, justify the fact that they're bigoted. So they were just hiding under these fancy words to do so.
What was the explanation that, okay, your family has a picture on social media that shows Sri Ram and that says, Ek hi nara, ek hi naam, Jai Shri Ram. Why is that ground for you to need to resign? Why is those grounds for you to be ostracized? Why are those grounds for you to be attacked in any way, anyhow? Like, why is any kind of a religious declaration, why are those grounds for you to be attacked? Because as far as I'm aware, a religious declaration or professing your religion does not go against a Oxford University Students Union president's policy or something like that, right?
Well, it doesn't, Sham, but I think we've seen how through popular culture or academia now, uh, anything and everything Hindu has been stereotyped.
Mm.
For God's sake, the West calls Jai Shri Ram a war cry, a call for hate. I think it's unfortunately the way they've conditioned our community as villains so that the whole society will look the other way when we get attacked. It's
Right.
this whole normalization of hating on a community. It's this whole normalization of vilification of a community. And that's something I've realized now, 2 years later, after writing a whole book and researching for it. Something I've realized is that it's part of a process of a society that's hell bent on persecuting a community, and then all of this psychological conditioning is sort of a preset to that.
Mm.
And if you see American academia now, or British academia, or general academia in the West, there's so much anti-Hindu content. There are
Mm.
professors who day in and day out make ludicrous claims about what Hindu dharma is, and it has carried on through popular culture and popular media to literally the masses, to the ground here. You see Indian politicians also making anti-Hindu remarks
Mm.
and somehow normalizing calls which would otherwise be classified as genocidal. So it's become so normalized, and it finds its roots in Western academia, and it has come all the way here, and it has seeded itself so strongly here. So I think it's not a surprise that the place that actually made up all these theories, I was attacked.
Yeah. Was there anyone at Oxford at all, Rashmi, that made the point sort of in your favor in the sense that why is a religious declaration seen as something evil that she needs to be vilified over? Because, if we're keeping tallies, let's say we go turn it into a competition and start keeping a scoreboard, then religious slogans like Allahu Akbar or religious imagery like the cross of Christianity have been used far more to destroy other cultures and to commit cultural genocide than whatever Jai Shri Ram has ever achieved in terms of religious violence. If you ask the Mayas and the Incas and the Native Americans of the American continent, of the Americas, they'll tell you some pretty horrific stories about how the cross was used. Or if you ask the Indian subcontinent, they'll tell you about how Allahu Akbar was used. So, did anyone make the point, or was there any realization that if just because a religious slogan has been misused in the past, that doesn't invalidate that religious slogan in itself?
Well, Shram, it's interesting you bring up this point. because I thought that would have been enough. But unfortunately, with the kind of media and the kind of community we are in, truth doesn't matter,
Mm.
logic doesn't matter. All that matters is what's convenient to be saying right now, what makes me so politically correct, what makes the most sort of sense from a western lens. So despite a British parliamentarian filing a motion in the British parliament saying that a Hindu student is being targeted on the basis of a religion and is
Right.
being bullied, that never made it to the news, that never hit the headlines.
Right.
All the headlines that you were seeing was repeatedly, okay, she's not being asked to resign because of her religion. That's all you could see. And they were quoting student clubs which weren't even registered to the university.
Hmm.
They chose not to publish a motion of the British Parliament and chose to publish unverified statements coming from clubs which weren't in any way associated or registered with the university. They gave more legitimacy to unverified sources than a verified source, just because it was more convenient. So I think selective amnesia, pretending to be asleep, and all of this is a huge plays a huge role in defying logic. I mean, I think anybody could literally go there,
Yeah.
tell them what history, they would just shut their eyes and pretend like they didn't see it, and go on and on harping on what they think makes sense.
Yeah, and I quickly want to touch on a point that you raised as well. You said that, in college campuses like Oxford, like Harvard, and a lot of Ivy League schools in America, they're all about, what's really in vogue right now is what you said, decolonization, representation, diversity. Diversity is very important. These are all things that, faculty and students and student bodies, they swear by, the more diverse, the better. But what does that really mean in an instance where, okay, you have a diverse student that became the that you elected, as the president of the students union, but as soon as there is one thing about them that you might not agree with, that you might not, let's say, even like, you have to get rid of her? Isn't that the whole point of diversity? The whole point of diversity is to be comfortable with differences, not be scared of differences. You know what Rajiv Malhotra ji calls sort of difference anxiety. Sorry. So you see someone, you want diversity, but as soon as you see someone that's different in a way that you might not be 100% comfortable with, well, get rid of them. Axe them, get rid of them, throw them out of the balcony, hang them in the public square. What kind of representation or diversity are these universities aiming for if they have to get rid of Rashmi Samant because her mother has one photograph that has a photo of Sri Ram on it?
Well, I think accessibility, access, inclusivity, diversity, representation, inclusivity, I think they all come with huge clauses.
Right.
And it's only available for people who are willing to toe the line of, where and how much inclusivity and access is allowed. It's only allowed as far as you're bringing color on the university website,
Right.
literally, as long as you bring color on it,
Right.
as long as you bring indigenous names onto the count, as long as you bring in representation to their pie charts, to their graphs, as long as you're doing that, it's okay. As long as you're willing to sit on the table and clap
Right.
for everything that the people on the table are saying, doing, and agree with them, they're okay, with giving you a seat on the table, because they don't want to look bad. They want to look like, they have a big heart, they're accommodating, and that they're beyond their colonial past. So I think that is the sort of representation that they're comfortable with. But the minute the person sitting on the table is asking for real rights and real access and real representation in terms of what should be done and what shouldn't be
Right.
done, and tries to have their voice out there, then that becomes uncomfortable.
Right.
So decolonization is in vogue only as long as you're saying decolonization. The minute somebody comes up with a plan for decolonization, then things hit the ceiling, and then they want to get rid of the person. So I think words, they just play around words now to cover up for what they did in the past. I
Right.
think it also comes from a point that you can't deny decolonization. You can't deny the horrors of colonization to a larger extent, even if
Hmm.
there's a small community which keeps saying, okay, it was a positive experience for the indigenous people. There's a, history can't be hidden, and there's more proof coming out saying that it was a terrible thing for the indigenous people.
Hmm.
And when that's happening, they need to do something to look apologetic. So
Right.
they keep coming up with these charades. The charades keep changing, and there are convenient rules for those who want to play by the rules.
You use the word indigenous to refer to Hindus, Indians in general, which is absolutely correct because they are indigenous to India. But often I'll notice that when you bring up the word in like academic circles, university circles, people balk, because Native Americans are indigenous, Africans are indigenous, the Incas and the Mayas are indigenous. But when you use the word indigenous to describe Indians, particularly Hindus, academic circles, they'll shiver, a chill runs down their spine. Why do you think that happens?
I think it's because, we as a community, we weren't wiped out. Term indigenous comes with a lot of leeway in academia with respect to the terrible things that they went through and the sort of concessions that need to be made by societies to accommodate and make space for them. I mean,
Hmm.
they do that all the time to Native Americans as well. There's so few that any amount of concessions and provisions are not going
Right.
to go a long way in preserving their communities. So it's all right, it's convenient to say these things. But a community like that of the Indians, if you suddenly start that, okay, saying that, okay, we wronged them, then I think everything is endless. The reparations are endless. The apologies go on endlessly. Even the kind of concessions that they need to make are endless.
Right.
It's easier to give reparations to a community where one or two people are left. You've oppressed them so much that one or two of them are left, and you
Yeah.
can look good by giving them reparations. But we thrived irrespective of what we went through. We survived. We are the oldest surviving indigenous polytheistic faith for a reason. We've got that survival instinct in us. We go through horrible things, but then we somehow manage to thrive irrespective of everything. And I think the minute they also put us in the same category as others who went through terrible things like us,
Right.
then the sort of whole logic fails, because they suddenly can't make enough space to apologize for everything they've done for us.
Right.
So it's just inconvenient to either apologize to us or send reparations, or I think everything
Yeah,
else.
I think the what I'm getting is that they want to talk about it. They want to feel all the gooey goodness of talking about, representation and diversity and how good that makes them feel inside without having to actually do too much work for it. So it's kind of like having your cake and eating it too. You get to talk about diversity, you get to talk about representation, you get to talk about, oppression of the white devil, but you don't really have to do anything about it. You can say, you can invite a Native American every couple of years on stage and like take a knee in front of them and say, I'm so sorry this happened to you. All right, get out now, go home, okay, leave me alone. So you want all the positive benefits, the how you feel good in your head when you talk about diversity and representation, but not actually have to deal with what comes with, actually implementing diversity and representation, right?
Absolutely, I think bullseye. That's about it. And I think it's also, them trying to save their marketplaces, right?
Hmm.
They did all this, all of the suppression, all of the colonization physically was initially to loot, and then when they physically left us, was a way to keep us in the bottom of the pyramid, keep us doing these call center jobs, stay at the bottom, stay oppressed, kind of a thing. So it's inconvenient if we suddenly find our self-respect from that shared sense of suffering. I think it's a sense of suffering that brings out self-respect more than anything.
Yeah.
It's people who have an appreciation for what their ancestors went through and the terrible times that their oppressors put their ancestors through, that brings in that self-respect back. So the minute I think Indians realize that they too are the indigenous people of Bharat who went through the same terrible things that others did go through across the world and
Right.
others unfortunately didn't make through, then that, sort of again starts this whole uncomfortable situation where Indians are assertive, they're, seeking a seat at the table, they suddenly feel like they didn't deserve to be colonized
Right.
and that they were much better off before colonization came along. And I think it's sort of a mixed bag of things. And you see so much racism even today, I guess. Even when Chandrayaan 3 did its successful
Yeah.
landing, all of these old videos came up wherein people are consistently asking Indians to return the aid that it's been taking from Britain, whilst we haven't been taking any aid. It's
Right.
investments that Britain is fervently trying to make
Listen,
here in order
can
to
I
make
say
money in
something
this.
about that though? You know that the sun has, well and truly set on the British Empire, because in an empire that used to control half the planet, used to pull in revenue worth, tens of trillions of dollars, is now haggling with a foreign colony over like $2 billion. That's how you know. Like, all these British supremacists needs to realize how pathetic they sound, haggling with a developing country about $2 billion, most of which doesn't even go to India as aid. Do you see how pathetic you look? You used to control half the planet, and now ki yaar, mera paisa lauta do, please. That's what you're doing now. That's pathetic. Have some shame, man. Come on.
It is, it
Yeah.
is. And I think the attitude with which they come to the table, the sort of patronizing, self entitled attitude that they bring to the table is also very pathetic. If they're asking for 2 billion, then what about the trillions that they looted from here? Then we
Right. I
have to
thought we
go
were
back in
even.
time. We have to start from reparations. So
Yeah.
we go back to reparations, we add the sort of interest that's due, and then we take it suit samet, and then when we deduct the sort of few maybe million dollars that they gave us in investment,
Yeah.
then that literally ends up they'd probably have to sell their country at this point
Yeah.
to be
Seriously.
able to give back
Yeah.
everything that they took from us. And it's, I think, very shallow coming from a country that took reparations post the world wars
Yeah.
and never bothered to give reparations to its colonies.
Hmm.
So I think the double standards and the hypocrisy that the British or the West have been practicing in that aspect has been very, very sort of historic. They have
Yeah.
a history of hypocrisy, they have a history of double standards, and they have a history of finding convenient rocks to hide under.
Yeah.
And this whole suffrage of political correctness, which have taken birth in their own universities, are somehow a way of making themselves look good by acting like they're guilty about what they did to the West, to the East, whilst continuing to do what they're
Yeah.
doing to the East. So it's just little words that they've come up with to look guilty.
Right. So let's talk about your book now. A Hindu in Oxford, it's called. Where did the genesis for the idea of the book come from? Like, where did you get the idea that it's important for me to tell this story through a book?
Well, I think I started writing a diary when I
Okay.
was going through everything I was going through. And for me, writing was a way to deal with the trauma of what I was going through and organizing my thought and trying to really tell the truth from the lies, because there was so much lies were being spread about me, my identity, that it's sometimes hard to even fathom or even have this understanding of what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
I think there's this whole thing of lies being repeated over and over, that you internalize the lies as the truth. So I was going through that kind of a psychological trauma when I was being repeatedly attacked. There were so many false articles about me coming up in credible mainstream news outlets, that I really had to keep writing to sort of tell myself, okay, Rashmi, this is what's real and this is what's not real. This is what's happening and this is why they're doing what they're doing to you. So it was my way of dealing with the trauma.
Hmm.
Then I think a few months down the line, a few years down the line, I thought perhaps I should compile it, because nobody speaks from our perspective. And if we rely on others to tell our stories, then they're going to definitely pick up selective amnesia and definitely going to write it the way they want to.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, perhaps I should write it, because there isn't any literature about this. I don't think anyone's actually documented a case maybe a first hand account of what went through. So I thought maybe it'll help out somebody. So I
Mm.
decided to convert that diary into a book, and then, we have a Hindu in Oxford.
Right, and it's sort of like an official record, right? Because the way I saw the story unfold too. We spoke about it in the past about the amount of misinformation that was spread, about you and about your family, about your background, about your whatever your ideology, purported ideology is. There was so much information. There were so many articles written. So many people came out and attacked you about it that it's good to see this book as almost like an official record. Here is my account of what has happened. Now it's an official record. You guys can make of it whatever you want. You can make your own conclusions from it, but here is my account, right?
Yes, Sham, and I think it's also, so many emails which went back and forth, so many, official documents which went back and forth. It is just not what I felt. I was also consistently compiling all of the communication that was going on, because there were, multiple investigations which were going on. There was the police, then there was the Crown Prosecution Services, then there
Mm.
was also the university doing an internal investigation. So I was also trying to keep a track of what's going on with all of these different things. So I think also putting that together makes it more legitimate than just sort of, oh, I
Yeah.
feel this and this happened. So it's more of a,
Slightly
what do you
more
say, like a
authoritative
document.
than just a Twitter thread, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's more of a documentary put together, with proof.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, a sort of a message to young people out there. When I went through what I went through, I hadn't heard the word Hinduphobia. I didn't know that, authorities which are supposed to distinguish between good and bad can have institutional bias. Things like institutional bias, I mean, nobody teaches about these things,
Hmm.
and nobody tells you that it exists. So I thought, might as well write about it, so that maybe if a young person goes through something like this and they're unable to understand why they're being singled out and attacked, and why suddenly it feels like they are helpless. Because when you undergo like sort of an institutional persecution, or when you face institutional bias, it feels like you're absolutely helpless.
Yeah.
You're giving your best, but nothing's moving. You complain to everybody, but suddenly the investigation officer is on leave for, 8 weeks in a row. No one's responding to your emails, for, hours, for days, for weeks on end. And then you start feeling helpless. You start feeling pent up, like,
Hmm.
okay, like there are these methods, which are historic, which have been used historically, to weaken people, to weaken their resolve, to, to make them give up before, the result is, out. So there are all of these historic methods which are used, and I honestly feel like young people, we don't know about these things. We don't talk about these
Yeah.
things. We don't educate our youngsters about it. So might as well write about it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you said the university did an internal investigation. Did anything come of it?
It did. I mean, something did come out of it. The university did acknowledge that what happened with me was wrong, and,
Wow.
that the professor was within no, bounds to be saying what he was saying, what they were, the post that they were making. So there was an official declaration, but unfortunately, they, sealed it up within this one-way sort of confidentiality. They sent me a letter saying, "Okay, this is confidential," without me signing any confidential documents.
Huh.
And it's funny,
So we
there are
accept
so
that
many
you were
laws.
wrong, but you can't tell anyone about this.
Yeah, exactly. And, it was a point when I still didn't have my degree with me, so i
Hmm.
i figured, okay, might as well wait until I graduate before I talk about it
Right.
to people. But, I mean, I don't know what they'll do with it, but, that's what they said. Okay, they were like, okay, you were wrong, but you can't do anything about it, and you can't tell anybody about it. So it was the
Wow.
kind of letter that I was given.
You see the negative effects of that because I remember when you posted about your book on Twitter X, when you posted about it, there was I saw a community note under it, right? If you remember, the community note was like something along the lines of, oh, Oxford Indian Society, Oxford Hindu Society, and Oxford South Asian Society. Why do they have so many societies? I don't understand. But still, all these societies were like, oh, nothing wrong happened to her. And she was just let go because she was also stepped down because she was a bigot or something like that. And it goes to show you, you were talking about institutional bias, that you have this internal investigation that said that what happened to you was wrong, the way you were attacked was wrong. You have all this evidence of you getting attacked simply because you come from a particular religious background, and they found one photograph of your family that had a religious figure on it. If you were a Christian and your mother was wearing a cross, I very much doubt that you would be attacked and vilified the way that you were. Even though we all know, ask the Americas, ask Goa, they will all tell you what happened to them under the sign of the cross. And despite all of that, the community note under your post is still there. And so it gives you an idea of, the institutional bias that you were talking about.
Well, yes, Sham. It's funny because Oxford even has a Quidditch society where people run around with brooms between their legs,
What?
and
Is that true?
I'm not even kidding. It's true. It's
Oh my
true.
god.
It's true. I'm not even kidding. It even
Oh
has
my
a Quidditch
god.
society. And none of these societies are even registered to the university. At the time in 2021, when the statement was made, two of those societies were not even registered at the university website. So, for all you care,
Yeah.
you, Sham, could say, I'm the Sham Sharma Club of Oxford
There
University,
you
and
go.
put out a statement.
Yeah.
And if it was convenient for them, they would have literally made articles out of it. I think of this more as a universal playbook, Sham, of how there is an alignment and an unspoken agreement between people on the left side of the spectrum in our world,
Hmm.
and how there is this unity in terms of what needs to be said, the story that needs to be told, and the facts that need to be hidden. I say this very consciously. The story that they wanted to tell was ultimately what was put out through news media outlets, but the facts were kept hidden, even if there were legitimate people putting out these facts. The post that the University of Oxford history faculty made, it was in writing. He made it on his Instagram, which was public for everybody to see. So it
Hmm.
was not a he said, she said, oh, it happened in his cabin, we don't know whether it's true or she's making it up.
Hmm.
It was a written statement which was out there. So it teaches you a lot about how our world is also fixated, and how our world amplifies things, how our world extends credibility to stories which it finds convenient, and selectively ignores facts. I mean, all the three universities, all the three societies, they never mention the faculty whose behavior is abusive. It's creepy, straight up,
Yeah.
stalking a student's parent. That is
Yeah,
seriously
it's
not
creepy
within
as
the
fuck.
bounds of what a faculty should be doing.
Yeah.
It's something they should be raising their voices against, for God's sake, as
Yeah.
a student community. But
I
because
imagine,
what
Rashmi, that if it was a different student, the right kind of
hmm,
representation. If it was a student with the right kind of a representational background, and if a faculty member stalked her social media, stalked her family the way they did you, I don't think that faculty member would be around.
And you know what's funny, Sham? A lot of the people from that community actually came up to me and told me this exact statement as a joke. They
Right.
told me that if you were from our community, this wouldn't have happened to you.
Yep.
They had the audacity to come tell me this, that
Yeah.
this wouldn't have happened, and the entire scenario would have been quite the opposite. And they, it was just like this, funny thing that they were coming up to me and telling me whilst I was going through the whole trauma of what I went through.
What do you make of that criticism too? Because another related criticism of that, we were talking about how if you were from a different community, maybe this wouldn't have happened to you. And an attack that was made on you, I remember, by a lot of I'm not sure if it was faculty, but a lot of people that I saw on social media tweeting about you. A lot of them, ironically, were Pakistani or Bangladeshi students, or maybe Indian Muslim students, that were attacking you about it. And they were saying that Indian students in foreign countries can be very dangerous because they might be sympathetic to the Hindutva movement in India. And so that is why we need to delegitimize them here, delegitimize all of their achievements, get them fired from their jobs, because they might be, not even are, might be sympathetic to a completely legitimate, completely mainstream political movement in India. What do you make of that argument?
Well, I think there's this very funny, term in Hindi called jalebia pirona. So you're literally making jalebis with your words just to sound fancy, and just to sound like you are making the correct argument. Just, put in so many words into your argument
Right.
that the other person loses track of it. and actually ends up believing that okay, maybe there was some sense in what they were saying because they had so many words to say about it.
Right.
It's literally that kind of a bullshit argument that they make, because it loses all kinds of logic. Is there any statistic which says that students are actually leading this kind of a religious or political movement back in Bharat?
Right.
No. Students are nowhere a part of it. Students are nowhere a legitimate part of it. And students abroad, even if they do believe in their faith, how does belief in one faith then translate to political ideology, or support to one particular political party? I still remember the professor saying that she was funded by Prime Minister Narendra Modi because, hear me out, this is so funny, because the website of the university where she did her undergraduate degree
Mm.
has a photo of Narendra Modi. And it's so funny because it's so funny because this was COVID, and every university had to put up this poster of getting vaccinated, get
Oh
vaccinated,
my
go
God,
back
no
on
way.
campus. And there was a
Yeah.
little image of Modi ji in one of the corners, and that was the basis of accusing me of having my election funded by Modi, of having
Wow.
spent exorbitant amount of money on my election, and having my ideology so deep in the furtherment of the Hindutva political movement in Bharat. This was the explanation. This was like the chain.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of these words came from a very baseless argument that, uh, this was the thing. So I think there's this very famous thing, that our parents used to tell us, that okay, there was a boy who studied to write an essay on a horse, but then they told him write an essay on a tree. So then he writes this essay about the horse,
Yeah.
and in the end he says that the horse was tied to the tree.
Yeah.
So that's literally the logic they have behind making the argument about the horse.
Mm.
So they made this whole argument about how Hindutva is dangerous, or there's this rising Hindutva politics in Bharat. And
Mm.
my connection to it was that, it was a horse that was tied to the tree. That was
Right.
literally the connection that was made. And hence, I was somehow the root cause of the whole movement. And I had to be delegitimized in Oxford from something that I had meritoriously earned on my
Right.
own, with a completely different campus agenda, nowhere related
Yeah,
to
it's kind of
Bharat,
like
nowhere
saying that
related to
Rashmi
Hindu
Samant
Dharma.
is a Nazi because she once drove through Nuremberg where Hitler conducted the Nuremberg rally. That's kind of like what they're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's literally what they said. And I think they find ways to justify whatever they want to say. And these buzzwords have a way of making it into the mainstream media. The minute you say, okay, Hindutva, racist, transphobic, anti Semitic, everybody wants to write about it, and nobody wants to verify why such accusations are being made.
Yeah.
Today, if you take this matter to the court of law, so I make a very strong, I do reflect a legal argument in my book as well, something that a good friend made for me. And it clearly says that these accusations won't stand in the court of law. Leave the court of law. Even a sensible society would say, okay, there's no point in this argument, because
Mm.
clearly you see no logical connection between the accusation and the accused.
Mm-hmm.
But these words are so buzzy. The minute you say fascist Modi, you have magazines from the Caravan to the
Yeah.
Time willing to make it their cover page. But the minute you say, okay, we've done A, B, C, D, and make a very good argument to how Modi's been good for this country, nobody's interested.
Yeah.
Even if you have endless facts to substantiate it, even if you have all the logic in the world, they just don't want to do it,
Yeah.
because it's what's convenient, what story is convenient, and what facts are
Yeah.
inconvenient. It's the simple distinction between that.
It's kind of crazy because would a British university deplatform someone just because they was a registered Democrat? Would they deplatform someone just because they were a registered Republican? Would you deplatform someone because they voted Labour? Would you deplatform someone because they voted Tory? Like, no, you wouldn't, because that's straight up discrimination. Deplatforming someone or canceling someone or make forcing someone to resign because they exercise their right that their constitution gives them to vote. Like if Rashmi decides to go home to India where she's a registered voter and votes, and you deplatform her for it by saying, "Oh, how dare you vote for the political party that we don't like?" Like that's straight up discrimination. Anybody else from any other country they do this to. It's straight up discrimination. If you do this to a Pakistani, it'll be considered discrimination, even though every single Pakistani political party has ties with jihadi Maulanas and the Pakistani army, which is one of the biggest exporters and funders of terrorism, not just in the Indian subcontinent, but across the world. So, does that mean that every single Pakistani voted in Pakistan or has supported a political candidate in Pakistan has ties to terror organizations, which means they must be deplatformed or fired from their jobs or expelled from the country? No, absolutely not. But then that applies to India because somebody chooses to support a completely legitimate and a completely mainstream political party. It doesn't even matter if you, support them or not. But if you vote for them, you deserve to get that deep platform. That's complete insanity.
It is, Sham, it's insanity, but I think there's so much conditioning which has happened of society in general. When discrimination happens to an Indian, then it's not discrimination, but it
Hmm.
happens to everybody else, then it is. Because it's somehow conditioned that the villain cannot be victimized, and
Yeah.
we are the villain, unfortunately, right now. So
Yeah.
there's no way we can be victimized, even by the grossest of human rights violations, atrocities, or anything for that matter, because this Hindu simply has to be the villain. So it's not going to matter what you tell them, what somebody went through. They're going to believe that you deserved it in the first place because of the way the community has been conditioned and the way the stereotypes around the community have been carefully curated, I must say, for a very long time now.
Hmm.
And I think it goes back well into the 10th century, when they first changed the meaning of the word Hindu in their dictionaries and made it thief, black, and kafir. And, they started defining as these people. So it
Hmm.
goes back way back to 10th century, and everything they've done since to defile the dharma, to divide our people, to introduce systems which have appropriated our culture, and which have appropriated our communities and split us further based on maybe linguistic lines or maybe based on caste lines. The list is just endless
Yeah.
on, how much we've been split up, how much we've been broken, and how many stereotypes about us have been seeded in academia, popular culture, and everything. I mean, there are films, for God's sake, in the US, in Britain, where it's so casual for Indians to be racially profiled. I think this really immature article in the LA Times or something that came up where there's an Indian woman and suddenly she needs to have 8 hands, and it was completely unnecessary to make that correlation to an Indian woman actually being Durga or Kali Ma and having 8 hands, but somehow
Hmm.
it was just put in. So it's also, these stereotypes are also being forced in. It's not even humor, it's not even humor from the Western sense. It's not even humor, but it's just being forced anyway, nonetheless, to reinforce the stereotypes,
Yeah.
and that's very unfortunate.
Yeah, and I would think that there's a lesson in here for the Indian diaspora that's based over there as well, because I remember that a lot of the attacks that were done on you came from Indians as well. I also remember that the person that succeeded you as the Oxford Union president also attacked and said that, oh no, there was absolutely no discrimination. No, 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 no. See, I got elected. That means there's absolutely zero discrimination, and Rashmi Samant is a bigot. That is why she was let go and or asked to step down and things like that. So I would very much doubt, as much as we gave the Pakistanis crap, I would very much doubt that if a Pakistani was elected as a student union president, that other Pakistanis would get together and take that Pakistani down with the amount of relish that some Indians got together and tried to take you down. So Indians, or at least a group of Indians, or particular Indians, want to be part of this victimhood narrative, want to be part of this sort of uh, representation and all of that stuff as well, but also at the same time don't want to stand up for each other. Just if one of their coterie doesn't agree with their kind of representation.
Well, Sham, I think it's funny that the Indian who got elected after me was elected 3 months post my resignation, when
Hmm.
so much outrage had gone on online, offline, through legal institutions, that the university was straight up on the verge of being prosecuted by the Crown Prosecution Services
Wow.
for having treated me the way it treated me, and for not uh, you know protecting me in as a student, as a ward of the university, from all the bullies. And they straight up found another brown face to save themselves. And there was a person in from our community willing to be that perfect brown sepoy and pretend like that there's just no racism at all 3 months later. And it's funny because the way she won the election was also quite the spectacle. Didn't win in round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6, round 7, round 8, round 9, round 10, 11th round is when she won. And in the
What?
first round, yeah. In the first round, she had lesser votes than her European. There was a European person boy running as well. There were many other people, but there was another boy who had more votes than her, more
Wow.
direct votes than her. So they did this whole um, not first person past the post, but relative voting thing where they kept having these recounting sessions, removing the least voted person, kept recounting
Right.
until she got two more votes to actually make it past the post. And it's actually quite funny how, despite those circumstances, she would come forward and say that, okay, like nothing wrong went just because she got an opportunity out of somebody else's suffering. And I think that is very, very, very low,
Mm.
for anybody, to make opportunities for themselves out of other people's sufferings and then use those opportunities to discount what somebody else went through. I think that is bottom of the barrel.
Mm.
And the person owns up to their Indian identity, but the person was born and raised in California,
Right.
and has identified as an American in Britain multiple times on
Oh,
multiple platforms.
okay.
Yeah, and has also been the president of the American Society of Oxford. So
Okay.
it's also a sort of convenient movement and convenient sort of ditching identities when it's convenient. It was convenient for them to claim that they were Indian and that they were Hindu just to take a dump at me. And before that, they were an American in Britain because that was the most convenient identity. So I think this identity politics is also so filthy, where
Mm.
people choose to identify differently just to get the benefits, just to reap the benefits out of it without having to work for it. And I think that is also something that's going to become increasingly prevalent with the different identities which are coming up. I think the Hindu identity or the Indian identity is still very sort of premature in the larger scheme of identity politics that we see currently going on,
Mm.
where people use and hide behind certain identities to victimize their past and to get to positions that they can't meritoriously or out of their own hard work. So
Right.
I think we see a lot of that in society as well, and it's pathetic to see people do that day in and day out. And that's something that happened post my resignation, 3 months post my resignation. They were looking for the perfect poster and they found it.
Okay, I want to do a quick fire round with you. But before I do, I want you to tell people that are listening, that are watching, a couple of takeaways that you want people to take away from your book. Obviously, not all of them because we want people to go and read the book, but a couple of big takeaways that you would want people to take away from reading the book.
Okay, so my main takeaway is that if you're ever cornered in a very unfair situation, never back away. Because if you back away, they will push you to the corner and they will push you off the ledge. So the only way to survive in unfair situations is to fight back, irrespective of what people and community tell you. And even your detractors will respect you for fighting back. This is something I've realized much later in life. I think I have a lot of respect even from the other side of the aisle just because I fought back. And had I backed out, I would be, pushed, I would be trampled upon, and I would be endlessly bullied until the end of my time. They would come, they would cancel me out of every job I get, every
Yeah.
city I move to, every profession I pick.
Hmm.
But because I fought back, I was able to get a job in the British Parliament. That's what I did straight up after graduation. I worked at their own parliament, where the background checks are so strict that if they wanted to cancel me, I would be the first to go. But I got that job. I did it for a short while before moving to India. So they dare not come to your territory and ruin your lives, because you fight back. So I would
Yeah.
always say fight back.
All right. Let's do a quick fire round before I let you go. So Essentially, the point of this round is quick answers as quickly as you can think of them.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Honest opinion on Oxford.
Citadel of colonization.
All right. According to you, what is the dumbest, silliest political, cultural, or social opinion that is bandied around in India?
Rahul Gandhi is a youth leader.
That's a good one. What, according to you, is the biggest issue facing India today?
Meddling from foreign powers.
All right. That's a good one. What gives you the most amount of hope for India?
The fact that, Hinduism is the oldest thriving religion,
All right.
that we survived.
Right. Favorite genre of music and current favorite song?
Disco, favorite genre of music.
Favorite genre of music is disco.
Yeah, yeah, disco,
Wow, look
disco.
at
I
that.
love the disco genre. I love this band, Bee Gees.
Oh, yeah, yeah, they're
Staying
great.
Alive.
Yeah, yeah, they're great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So, Staying Alive by the Bee Gees, current favorite song?
Yes.
All right. What genre of music are you not a fan of?
Breakup, sad songs.
Oh my God. That's like the favorite genre of like every Indian guy aged 16 to 32. It's like
Sorry,
their
no
favorite
offense, but
genre. Yeah.
breakup, drowning, sad.
Yeah. Not for you? Good. Favorite current movie or TV show?
Interesting. Who is Erin Carter? TV show, Netflix.
Erin Carter. Oh, is that on Netflix? What is it? Is it like a
Yeah, yeah.
documentary or is it like a scripted series?
It's a scripted series. It's like
Oh,
super dark about this woman thief, undercover police.
wow. Okay. I might have to check that out. Do you have a guilty pleasure movie or TV show that you are slightly embarrassed about?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That's not that bad. That's not even a guilty pleasure. That's a
Given
decent
how
show.
woke it became.
I mean, it did.
Given
Yeah.
how woke it became in
Yeah.
the last season.
Yeah, it was.
How woke.
I've only seen like I
Oh,
think a season and a half of that show, so I haven't seen the last 5 or 6 seasons.
pathetic. Yeah,
Oh,
it
really?
gets
Did it?
pathetic, but I still watch it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, too woke.
What movie or TV show does everyone like, but you don't?
Friends.
Really? I've seen, you know what's funny? I've seen a lot of Gen Z people that don't like that show, which is interesting to me because I used to like that show. I watched it a lot in college, but a lot of Gen Z don't like that show, which is interesting. What real life character, current or historical, would you like to see a movie or TV show made about?
Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
Oh, that's a good one.
Even his haters loved him. Like, even the people who hated him, they loved
Yeah.
him.
Yeah,
Personality.
that would actually make a pretty good. I feel like if they made like a good like Amazon Prime show about it, that would be pretty good. Yeah. Favorite book that you've read in the last year or so, apart from your own. You can't say your own.
Three daughters. Three daughters. Um, it's about three daughters of China living
Okay.
through three different generations. One is through that dynasty that was, falling, and then there was this Japanese occupation suppression,
Oh.
and then, the communist era. It's interesting because they were also suppressed, oppressed by the Japanese, but they believe they're a great people.
Hmm.
Nothing should have happened to them, and they pretend like it didn't happen to them, and that's where they find their self-respect.
Interesting.
Whereas we think, okay, we deserve what happened to us,
Yeah.
right? And then a lot of us think it was the best
Yeah.
thing that
Angrez
happened to us.
aage, they gave us train, otherwise we would never have had trains, nonsense like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Germans
And they have
the
this.
Germans were never conquered by the British, but they still managed to get trains.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But like, there's just like flipped mentality among Chinese. I love it. The three daughters, it brings it
Interesting.
out. Like, it
Do you
brings
know
out
who it is
that
by?
sentiment. Just a second. Can't find it.
But look up
Three swans. Sorry.
Three
Uh,
Swans. Okay.
sorry. Wild swans.
Why?
Three daughters of China. By Zheng Chang.
Okay. Wild
Sorry.
Swans, Three Daughters of China. That's the book,
I'm
right?
so sorry.
Now we come to the real controversial questions. What is your go-to food? What is the thing that you will always pick, yeah, to eat?
It's a Konkani delicacy. It is white rice
Okay.
with dali toy. So we make this thing called dali toy.
Okay.
It's a dal, but it's a very different dal. So it's
Ah.
it's only a Konkan belt thing. So it's white rice and dali toy. I can have it
What
like
what kind of dal is
24/7 for
it?
the rest
What
of
what
my
is
life.
it made from? The dal? What is it made from?
I think it's made from moong dal,
Okay.
and it's very thin, and it's got a lot of like ginger, and it's got a tangy, spicy flavor going.
Oh.
And it's very
Is it?
thin
Does it
also.
taste
It's
anything
very.
like a rasam or a sambar, or is it very different?
It does have that
Or does it?
rasam
Because you
vibe
said
to it.
tangy, that's why I was thinking.
It's got a rasam
Oh
vibe
no,
to it.
I like rasam a
Yes.
lot, so I will try that for sure.
Rice rasam is number two. So yes.
Okay, so something to get you in trouble in Karnataka. What part of Karnataka has the best food?
Coastal Karnataka.
Yeah, Konkani food is the best. Yeah,
Coastal Karnataka food is best.
I mean it makes sense because if you go to any like tier two, tier one city in America, and they will have a restaurant there called Udupi. So in India,
Udupi
sorry.
food is the
Yeah,
best.
yeah.
Yes. Even
So
in the world, like there's always
yeah,
Udupi restaurants.
I'm
So
sure. I'm
Udupi
sure if
food
you
is the best.
go looking for Udupi in America, like a Udupi restaurant, I'm sure there's like 200 Udupi restaurants in America. After Karnataka, which state has the best food?
I would say Tamil Nadu, but I feel that Tamil Nadu copied a lot of Karnataka
Oh,
dishes.
ho,
They
ho,
copied idli,
oh,
dosa, strong
oh my
statements coming
God,
from me that we
controversy.
discovered.
Yeah,
And they take credit for it. They even take credit for sambar. So just because they copied it wouldn't be them.
right.
Um, I think I really like food from Uttar Pradesh. I like that kala
Ah,
namak chawal.
yeah,
I like the litti chokha, which is also a border thing
yeah.
for Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. But I really like the kala namak chawal and everything.
All
Very
right.
very earthy, very nice.
An interesting or funny fact about you that people might not know.
I'm a mechanical engineer, and I was one of the two girls in my batch for 4 years.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's
That's
true.
funny. That's a story of like a lot of engineering colleges, I feel like.
Yeah, people think I'm like into history or social sciences or like whatever. Like people don't think I'm a mechanical engineer. Like straight
Oh.
up.
So you were a mechanical engineer in undergrad, right?
Yeah, and I did my master's also in energy systems, which is
Oh,
very
okay, okay,
adjacent to
okay.
mechanical engineering.
Oh, look at that. Interesting. Engineering. Man, you can escape death, but you can't escape engineering in India.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was the rapid fire round. Thank you for participating. And I hope at least one of these answers gets you in a little bit of trouble. Other than that, Rashmi, I appreciate you coming on the show today and talking to me. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully, this was fun for you as well. And for people, I will leave the link to Rashmi's book, A Hindu in Oxford, in the description of this video. You can. Is it available on Amazon yet?
Yes,
Okay.
it's available on Amazon.com. So it's available in the US,
Globally.
Canada, everywhere. It's also available on Garuda.us.
Okay.
So Garuda is my publisher and they have a US website. So it's like they're shipping everywhere.
Okay.
So there's no excuse for you not to read A
There you
Hindu in
go.
Oxford. It's shipping
Yeah.
globally.
The link is in the video. The book is available worldwide. So please go check it out. Rashmi Samant, thank you very much again for joining today's show. Stick around while I finish this recording. And guys, if you like today's video, please like, share, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. If you'd like to abuse us in the comments, do that as well. It helps with the YouTube engagement and the algorithm, all that fun stuff. Where can people go follow you, Rashmi? Where can they listen to your opinions or things like that?
Twitter, Instagram, that's where I'm most active. And I think you'll find my loudest voice on Twitter. X, now X.
X, now X. So where can
And
people find?
Instagram.
What's your username on X?
I'm Rashmi DVS on X, and I'm Rashmi in Oxford on Instagram, something I immensely regret, but it happened before verification, and there's no way I can change it now.
Yeah. Oh, you can't change the username on Instagram.
No, once you're verified, you can't, and you have to contact
Oh,
Instagram support, and there's no Instagram support.
yeah, it really does
At
suck.
least for people
Instagram
like you
support
and me,
sucks.
Sham, there's
Yeah,
no Instagram support.
yeah, Instagram support does suck. I hate Instagram support. It's non-existent basically.
It's
Um,
non-existent.
yeah. All right, so please go follow Rashmi. Rashmi, thanks again. And guys, to you, if you like this, stick around. Watch us on the next podcast. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy. We will see you next time. Tab tak ke liye, tata, bye bye.